In the future, humans who were genetically modified began hunting and killing normal humans. To survive, a huge group of ordinary people escaped to the past, 108 years earlier. They had only one goal: stay alive in the past and stop the cause of the future war before it ever began. Everything started when a sheriff named Jude went to the seashore with his senior officer, Nestor. There, they found a dead body. Soon they realized that many more bodies were washing up from the ocean. The sight was terrifying and left both of them shaken. While looking through the bodies, Jude noticed a small girl named Leah who was still alive. He quickly wrapped his jacket around her and called an ambulance. Throughout the day, a large rescue operation took place, and many people were pulled alive from the sea. Since no one could identify who these people were, they were placed in camps run by the Homeless Security Agency. This agency also took control of the entire case. An officer named Emma came to Jude and explained that the news must not spread because it could cause panic in the city. Jude agreed. Later, while standing near the bodies, Jude noticed something strange. None of the people had life jackets, and there were no reports of missing ships. No one could understand how so many people ended up in the ocean. Curious, Jude went to the camp to talk to Leah, the girl he had saved. He asked her how they ended up in the sea. Leah said that she, her mother, and many others had come from the future to escape a terrible war. Jude was shocked but didn't believe her, thinking she was too young to tell the truth. The next day, Emma and her team questioned all the survivors. Every single one said the same thing: they had come from the future. Emma and her team didn't believe them at first. Then a man named Caleb explained that in the future, genetically modified humans called Apex had started killing normal humans. These Apex were stronger and harder to kill because they were an advanced form of humans. That's why people like Caleb escaped to the past. Later, a girl named Hannah said that she, her father, and the others traveled by ship to a specific spot in the ocean, and from there they came to the past. Emma assumed they must have used a time machine, but the survivors said they didn't have one. They only knew the exact location needed to travel through time, not how it actually worked. After hearing all this, Emma and her colleague Bryce stopped believing the survivors and left the camp. By then, Jude had arrived outside the camp, hoping to talk to the survivors himself, but no one was allowed inside without permission. Emma refused to share any information and asked Jude to leave. Later that day, Bryce came to Jude's house and gave him a file about the survivors. Emma had secretly sent it because she felt bad turning Jude away. When Jude read the file, he realized that much of the information had been changed or removed. He called Emma to ask about it, but she simply told him that it was better if outsiders knew as little as possible. A woman named Reese was rescued from the sea by a fishing boat. She was Leah's mother. When she woke up, she started vomiting and remembered how she and the others were drowning in the ocean and how she tried to give Leah air underwater to save her. At the camp, the survivors were very worried about their future. During this time, Hannah asked an agent named Roy for his sunglasses, saying the sunlight hurt her eyes. Roy refused. Nearby, Caleb was sitting with Leah and others. A woman named Rebecca gave Leah a rabbit-shaped toy, but Leah didn't know what a rabbit was. This shocked Rebecca and made her realize that animals might not exist in the future. Later, Emma spoke with Caleb and told him that none of her senior officers believed the survivors' story. She said they needed strong proof if they wanted to live freely in this time. Caleb then left. Soon after, a survivor named Thomas told Emma he had important information about the future, which he would share only with the president. Emma asked for a hint first. Thomas revealed that another group from the future had arrived in the past before them and was still living there. This news shocked Emma. Meanwhile, Jude was sitting in his car when Reese suddenly appeared in the back seat and pointed a gun at him. She forced him to take her to Leah at the Homeless Security Agency camp. Since Reese was not allowed inside, Jude left her outside. Reese entered the camp alone, cut off the electricity, and searched the warehouse where dead bodies were kept, thinking Leah might be dead. When she didn't find Leah's body, she realized her daughter was alive. Two guards tried to stop her, but Reese defeated them and escaped by smashing through the warehouse's glass wall. After watching the CCTV footage, Emma and her team were shocked by Reese's strength and began to believe the survivors' claims about the future and the Apex. Emma questioned Jude and warned him not to trust Reese if she returned. That night, the survivors were moved to a summer camp deep in the forest for safety. Agency staff stayed with them, and Leah was placed under Caleb's care. When Hannah struggled with her cabin door, Roy helped her and gave her his sunglasses. Soon after, Emma learned that a guard had been badly injured, likely by an Apex. This meant an Apex might be hiding among the survivors, but there was no proof yet. Emma then took Thomas to meet her boss, Robert. When Thomas began explaining about the earlier group from the future, Robert turned around. Thomas froze. Robert himself was part of that first group and already knew everything. Angry, Robert warned Thomas never to tell anyone about people who came from the future. Meanwhile, Reese breaks into Jude's house once again. When Jude sees her, he is shocked and immediately points his gun at her. Reese does not fight back. Instead, she begs Jude to help her. She tells him that she only wants to see her daughter Leah and asks him to help bring her back. Seeing how desperate and scared Reese is, Jude slowly lowers his gun and decides to listen to her. Reese then tells Jude the full truth. She explains that she is an apex who came from the future. The apex were created by changing human DNA. Because of this, they are still human, but much stronger, faster, and more advanced than normal humans. In the future, a deadly virus spread across the world. The virus killed almost all normal humans. However, it did not affect the apex at all. Scientists tried many times to create a cure, but every attempt failed. Eventually, the apex leaders decided that the only way to stop the virus was to kill all infected humans. Reese explains that she and another apex were sent to a camp where infected humans were being kept. As soon as they arrived, they killed everyone there. But then Reese saw a small human girl who was not infected. She could not bring herself to kill the child. Her apex partner insisted that the girl must be killed too. To save the child, Reese turned her gun on her own partner and killed him. Reese then took the human child to her home, where she lived with her husband. When her husband saw the child, he became angry and refused to keep her. He knew that if the apex leaders found out, they would kill the child and also kill both of them. Still, Reese begged him, and in the end, she convinced him to let the child stay. She named the girl Leah. For many years, they lived peacefully. Leah grew up believing Reese was her real mother. But as Leah grew older, Reese spent more and more time caring for her. This made her husband feel ignored and angry. The very next day, driven by jealousy and rage, he went to the apex leaders and told them everything about Leah. The apex leaders were furious and immediately called Reese to meet them. During the meeting, Reese realized that once it ended, both she and Leah would be killed. Without waiting, Reese pulled out her gun and killed all the apex leaders in the room, except her husband. She rushed back home, grabbed Leah, and escaped. They boarded a ship that was meant to take them back in time. But during the time travel, something went wrong. The ship caught fire. Even so, it still managed to send everyone to the past. To escape the flames, all the passengers jumped into the ocean. The next day, when Jude went to the shore with Nestor, they found the body of one passenger. Reese was rescued by fishermen. Out of everyone on the ship, only 47 people survived. Nearly 400 people drowned in the sea. After hearing this entire story in the present time, Jude decides that the next day, he will help Reese meet Leah. Meanwhile, the Homeless Security Agency announces that they will conduct DNA tests on all the survivors. They tell the survivors that the tests are only to confirm their identities and avoid panic. But in reality, the real purpose of the tests is to find the apex who is hiding among them, pretending to be a normal human. The next morning, Jude was supposed to take Reese close to the summer camp, just as he had promised. But while sitting alone in his car, he received several recorded interviews of the other survivors from Emma. Jude watched them carefully. From these recordings, he learned that in the future, all Apex planned to completely destroy normal humans. This was very different from what Reese had told him the night before. This left Jude confused and worried. He did not know whom to believe. Before deciding what to do, Jude tricked Reese into going inside a shed and locked her in. The shed was closed from all sides, so Reese could not escape. She kept hitting the door for a long time, but eventually became tired and sat down on the floor. Jude then called Emma and told her everything. He asked her to come alone and talk to Reese directly. Jude wanted Emma to hear both sides, the Apex side and the human side, so she could decide who was telling the truth and who could be trusted. Emma agreed, but because she was afraid of losing her job, she also told her boss, Robert, about Reese. As soon as Robert heard that Reese was an Apex, he ordered a team to kill her. The team reached the shed and started firing bullets at Reese. Reese pretended to pass out. When she saw a chance, she escaped. She was hit by a few bullets, but even then, she jumped into a nearby river and managed to get away. When Jude found out that Reese had been attacked because Emma informed Robert, he became extremely angry. He went back home in rage. Later, when Emma called him to ask about Reese, Jude refused to tell her anything. He shouted at her and told her never to contact him again. Just then, Jude's wife arrived at the house with their young son, Oliver. Seeing them made Jude very happy. That day, Jude planned to take Oliver to the town's festival by the sea. Meanwhile, Reese reached a public restroom. There, she painfully removed the bullets from her body. A short time later, Robert's team arrived at the same place while searching for her. All they found was a message left behind by Reese. It read, "Stop following me or you will die." At the same time, Robert had Thomas badly tortured to frighten him. In return for his freedom, Robert ordered Thomas to go back to the camp and convince everyone not to talk about the future. Thomas agreed and returned to the summer camp, quietly warning people to stay silent about where they came from. After being stuck inside the camp for many days, Hannah started feeling trapped and restless. She asked Roy to help her escape, but Roy clearly refused. Hannah ignored him. When Roy finished his shift and drove his truck toward the Seaside Festival, Hannah secretly hid in the back of his truck and escaped without anyone noticing. She then went straight to the festival. Soon after, Jude arrived at the same festival with his son Oliver to enjoy the day. But even while spending time with his son, Jude could not stop thinking about Reese and her story. Back at the camp, Leah suddenly became very sick. She developed a dangerous illness that the doctors could not understand. Panicked, Emma called Robert and told him about Leah's condition. To save the child, Robert immediately contacted a doctor named Sophie and sent her to the camp by helicopter. When Sophie arrived, Emma explained everything about the survivors coming from the future. After hearing the truth, Sophie promised she would do everything possible to save Leah. By this time, Reese had reached the forest near the summer camp and was looking for a way to enter without being seen. But she soon realized that Robert's team had already entered the forest to kill her. Reese hid among the trees and bushes. Waiting for the right moment, she began quietly taking down the team members one by one. At the festival, Oliver was having a great time with his father, Jude. He was enjoying the lights, music, and games. Not far away, Hannah was also walking around the festival, looking at everything with curiosity. During this time, she met a man named Marshall. He had just been released from prison that same day. Even though he had a rough past, he spoke kindly to Hannah and took her to watch a live band playing music at the festival. Sadly for Hannah, Roy was also at the festival. As soon as he saw her, he grabbed her and started taking her back to the summer camp. Marshall tried to stop Roy, thinking he was just an ordinary man. But when Roy showed his intelligence badge, Marshall immediately stepped back and said nothing. Back at the summer camp, Emma noticed Thomas standing outside a tent, talking to people. Thomas was warning everyone not to tell anyone about the future. A little later, Emma called Thomas aside and spoke to him privately. During their conversation, Thomas shared some information about Robert. Since Thomas had just returned from outside the camp, Emma immediately began looking deeper into Robert's background. Meanwhile, Leah's condition continued to get worse, even though Dr. Sophie was trying her best. Sophie could not understand how to cure her. Then Rebecca approached Sophie and explained something important. She said that if they could get Reese's DNA and inject it into Leah, it could save her life. This was because Apex were immune to all diseases and infections. By this time, Reese had killed all of Robert's men in the forest. After that, she went after the team's leader. Before Reese could attack him, the commander used an ultrasonic device to cause her extreme pain. Reese was badly hurt, but she somehow managed to stand up, break the commander's neck, and kill him. After that, she took the commander's vehicle and drove straight toward the festival. At the festival, fireworks were lighting up the sky. Suddenly, Jude realized that Oliver was no longer standing beside him. Terrified, Jude started searching everywhere for his son. During the search, he found the commander's dead body. Inside the man's mouth was a note that said, "Now you will suffer just like me." Seeing this, Jude immediately understood that Reese had kidnapped Oliver. He was filled with fear. A short while later, Reese called Jude and told him that if he wanted Oliver back alive, he must bring Leah to her at any cost. Jude had no choice and agreed. The next day, Jude tried to enter the summer camp by force. Roy and his team arrested him for entering without permission. Just then, Emma arrived and helped Jude. Jude told her everything about Oliver being kidnapped and about Reese's condition. After hearing this, Emma explained that Leah's health was already very bad. If Jude tried to move Leah in that state, she would likely die on the way. This news completely crushed Jude. Reese had given him a deadline, and only 2 hours were left. After thinking carefully, Jude came up with a plan. He decided to take Dr. Sophie with him to meet Reese. His idea was that Sophie would honestly explain Leah's condition to Reese. This might convince Reese to release Oliver. At the same time, Sophie could collect Reese's DNA to save Leah. At first, Sophie refused to go, but since there was no other way to save Leah, she finally agreed and went with Jude. Meanwhile, Reese was treating Oliver very gently and kindly. She even took him fishing and spoke to him about her daughter Leah. After hearing Leah's story, Oliver felt happy and emotionally connected to her as if he already knew her. Jude was driving toward a warehouse with Sophie. Reese had told him she would meet them there in 1 hour. At the same time, Reese was feeling very happy. She believed she was finally going to see her daughter Leah again. When Reese arrived at the warehouse, Sophie showed her a photo of Leah. Sophie then explained that Leah's condition was extremely serious and that she might not survive. Seeing this, Reese completely broke down. She understood that there was now only one way to save Leah. She would have to go with Sophie to her private laboratory, give her DNA, and allow Sophie to make a medicine from it. Without hesitation, Reese agreed. Jude then asked Reese about Oliver. Reese calmly told him that she had already dropped Oliver off safely at Jude's house before coming to the warehouse. Hearing this, Jude immediately rushed home. When he reached his house, he found Oliver safe and unharmed. Seeing his son filled Jude with deep joy. Jude remembered how painful life had been after his divorce, when his wife had taken Oliver to live somewhere else. Living alone, Jude had missed his son every single day. Meanwhile, after seeing Hannah at the festival, Marshall had started to care deeply about her. Wanting to learn more about her, he decided to investigate. With the help of a friend, he sent a drone toward the summer camp to look for Hannah. But as soon as the drone flew over the camp, an eagle attacked it. The drone crashed, and the phone attached to it fell inside the camp. Back at the camp, a survivor named Paul noticed another survivor making sketches. Paul asked her if she could draw a face based on a description. She agreed. Paul described his wife, Mia, and asked for her portrait. Mia had arrived in the past as part of the first group that came before the others. Paul took the sketch to Emma and asked her to help find his wife. Emma agreed and began investigating. She even managed to locate Mia's house. But after learning more details, Emma became completely shocked. At the same time, Sophie reached her laboratory with Reese. There, Reese cut her own skin slightly and gave Sophie a blood sample. Sophie immediately began working to create the medicine for Leah. While waiting, Reese remembered the time she had spent with her daughter and prayed for her survival. Suddenly, Sophie received a call from the camp saying that Leah's condition was getting worse very quickly. Furious and terrified, Reese grabbed Sophie by the throat. Sophie managed to calm her down and promised that once the medicine was ready, Leah would be saved. Reese slowly let go, and Sophie continued her work. As soon as the medicine was ready, Sophie rushed back to the camp and injected it into Leah. Almost instantly, Leah started to recover. That same night, Emma went to Mia's house to meet her. As soon as they sat down, Emma told Mia everything about Paul. After hearing this, Mia admitted that she had also come from the future and that she had proof. She went to her room to get it. While waiting, Emma noticed some photographs in the house. In one group photo of Mia and her friends, Emma recognized Robert among them. This shook Emma badly. She finally understood that Robert had also come from the future. Before Emma could react, Mia returned and shot Emma dead. Mia and her companions never wanted anyone to learn the truth about them until their secret mission was completed. The next day, Jude called Emma to ask about Leah, but Emma did not answer his call. He tried many times, but there was no response. Worried, Jude told Nestor everything he knew about the summer camp and Emma. Together, they started looking for her. When they went to Emma's house, they found information related to her boss, Robert. As they investigated further, Jude and Nestor discovered something shocking. The commander whose dead body Reese had left behind had actually been hired by Robert to kill Reese. After realizing this, both Jude and Nestor became sure that Robert was involved in Emma's disappearance. At the same time, Marshall arrived at the police station to share information about the people living in the summer camp. Before he could explain much, he saw a photo of the same commander. He was deeply shaken. 2 years earlier, that man had caused a terrible car accident in which Marshall's mother was killed. At that exact moment in the past, Robert and Mia were also present at the accident site. That was because it was the moment when they and their group had arrived from the future into the past. Meanwhile, the phone that fell from Marshall's drone was found inside the camp by Hannah. Using the phone, Hannah called Marshall. Slowly, she began telling him everything about the camp and about who she truly was. By now, Leah had fully recovered. Sophie then mixed the remaining sample of Reese's blood with her own and noticed amazing changes in her body. In truth, Sophie was suffering from a deadly illness herself and wanted to cure it using Reese's blood. That was why she had been gaining Reese's trust. Sophie called Reese, showed her photos proving that Leah was healthy, and promised that Leah would soon be moved to a city hospital. This would make it much easier for Reese to escape with her daughter. Reese agreed, but Reese knew she would need weapons and fake identities, one for herself and one for Leah. So she went to a man named Kurd and asked him to arrange a meeting with his boss. Kurd's boss, Victor, was involved in selling weapons and making fake identities. Kurd took Reese to meet Victor. Reese placed a bag full of cash in front of Victor and demanded 2 fake identities as quickly as possible, along with guns. Seeing so much money for just 2 IDs, Victor and his men became suspicious. They thought Reese might be a police officer and pointed guns at her. Without hesitation, Reese killed all of Victor's men. Even attacking her together, they could not stop her. Watching this, Victor was terrified. Reese then told him that she was paying so much money for a serious reason and that Victor would have to do one more job for her. Terrified and left with no choice, Victor agreed. The money Reese used came from an ATM she had smashed and looted in a nearby village. At that very moment, Nestor was standing in front of the same broken ATM, staring at the damage and realizing something was very wrong. At the summer camp, Roy finds out that Hannah has a mobile phone. Because of this, Caleb personally brings the phone to Roy. When Roy tries to take it from him, Caleb suddenly throws the phone into a nearby lake, completely destroying it so no one can use it again. After Leah fully recovers, Sophie goes to Robert and tells him the good news. Robert is happy to hear that Leah is safe, but he then orders Sophie not to return to the camp again. The truth is, Robert had hired Sophie only to save Leah's life. Now that Leah was healthy, Sophie was no longer useful to him. This makes Sophie very angry. She had secretly kept Reese's remaining blood sample in the camp lab and wanted to take it back. Sophie makes excuses and tells Robert she needs to visit the camp one last time to collect her personal belongings. But Robert refuses again, saying that everything inside the camp belongs to the government. Even so, Sophie still tries to enter the camp. When she reaches the checkpoint, the guards stop her and force her to leave. Furious and helpless, Sophie drives away in anger and calls Reese. She begs Reese to give her another blood sample to save her life, but Reese clearly refuses. She had only given her blood to save Leah and did not care about anyone else. Sophie becomes so upset that while driving, her blood pressure suddenly rises and she suffers a heart attack. Luckily, she manages to stop the car safely. She loses consciousness and later wakes up in a hospital. The doctors tell her that she does not have much time left. Hearing this breaks Sophie emotionally. By now, Victor has arranged very dangerous weapons and fake identities for Reese. With everything ready, Reese decides that the very next day she will attack the summer camp and somehow rescue Leah. Meanwhile, Robert meets Mia and the others at a house. Everyone is worried and begins discussing the arrival of the new people from the future. In truth, Robert and his group had always planned to stay in the past to save humanity and stop the creation of the Apex in the future. Their goal was to protect humans and prevent total destruction, but now that the new survivors were openly talking about the future, Robert feared that his entire plan would fail. Because of this, he decides that all 47 survivors must be killed. His companions immediately agree to help him. After the meeting, Robert was going home when Officer Jude and his partner Nestor stopped him on the road. Jude wanted information about Emma, who had gone missing earlier. Robert tried to scare Jude by using his high position, but he was slightly drunk at the time. Using this as a reason, Jude and Nestor searched Robert's car. Inside, they found a gun with its serial number scratched off. Because of this, they arrested Robert. The next day, Mayor Conway came to the police station to get Robert released. She was also part of the earlier group from the future. Since the 47 survivors were being kept at Robert's camp, it was very important for their plan that Robert be free. Conway asked Jude to release Robert, but Jude refused. However, Jude knew that because of Conway's power, Robert would be released sooner or later. So Jude agreed, but with one condition. He asked that the people at the summer camp be allowed to spend one free day in town. Jude had his own reasons for this, and he knew the survivors were feeling trapped after staying in the camp for so long. Conway accepted the condition. At the camp, Caleb was talking to Jessica about his daughter Rachel, who had come to the past with the earlier group. Caleb had traveled to the past only to find her. Just then, Leah, Reese's daughter, came and told them that everyone was allowed to go into town for the day. Rebecca felt very happy after hearing this, but Caleb felt sad because his name was not on the list due to a past fight with an officer named Roy. Leah and Rebecca then went into a room where all the survivors were gathered. Agent Foster announced that everyone would be taken into town for a day, but they must return before night. The survivors agreed happily, and Foster started taking them to the bus. At the same time, Reese was hiding nearby with a sniper rifle, planning to kill anyone if needed to get Leah back. But when she saw that everyone was just going into town for a trip, she changed her plan and followed them into the town instead. After all the survivors got on the bus, Agent Foster made everyone wear tracking bracelets so no one could run away. Soon after, a woman named Naomi, who had been in a coma at the camp since coming from the future, finally woke up. She asked the nurse about her husband Eli. The nurse told her that no one named Eli was at the camp and that everyone else had gone into town for the day. Naomi immediately understood the truth. Eli had already been killed. Heartbroken, Naomi went into an empty cabin and asked the nurse for a marker. She then started writing strange symbols in an unknown language all over the wall. Meanwhile, Marshall found out from Nestor that the survivors were coming into town. He went to the bus stop with Nestor because he desperately wanted to see Hannah. When the bus arrived, Hannah was very happy to see Marshall too. Marshall took her to a lake, kissed her, and later they crossed the lake on a motorboat while talking quietly. In reality, Jude didn't send everyone into town just for fun. He wanted to secretly reunite Leah with her mother, Reese. Earlier, Reese had returned Jude's son Oliver, but Jude had failed to keep his promise of giving Leah back to her. Feeling guilty, Jude decided to fix his mistake. He distracted Rebecca and quietly sent Leah into a nearby shop. Inside, a man gave Leah a card written in the Apex language. After reading it, Leah walked to a nearby tree and entered a bathroom. As soon as she went inside, Reese pulled Leah up through a vent above the restroom. Moments later, Jude arrived, removed Leah's tracking bracelet, apologized to Reese, and told her to take Leah and leave immediately. Leah hugged Jude, and then she left town with Reese in a car. While this was happening, Trevika noticed them leaving. Later, she angrily confronted Jude and warned him that by doing this, he had put both Reese and Leah in serious danger. Jude didn't fully understand her fear and ignored it, telling Rebecca that Leah was safest with her mother. That night, Reese stayed at a motel with Leah. She showed Leah their fake IDs, which had been made earlier by Victor. Reese had also made IDs for everyone else at the camp so they could live normal lives in this world. Creating these IDs was the second big job Reese had paid Victor for. Even though everything seemed fine, Reese felt something was wrong. She looked closely at the rabbit-shaped toy Leah was carrying and was shocked to discover that it contained a tracking device planted by the homeless security agency. Realizing they could arrive any moment, Reese quickly left the toy behind, put Leah in the car, and drove away. But on the road, one of the car's tires burst. Suddenly, several agency vehicles surrounded them. They attacked Reese and knocked her unconscious. When Reese woke up, she found herself in a laboratory, tightly strapped to a machine that held her arms, legs, and body in place. Robert's plan was to use Reese's DNA to create a virus that could kill the new survivors from the future. However, this task was too complex for normal doctors, and Robert didn't want to reveal his secret to many people. So he went to the hospital and approached Sophie, asking her to join him again. At first, Sophie refused, but when she heard Reese's name, she agreed. Sophie wanted to use Reese's DNA to cure her own deadly disease and become an Apex herself. Though Sophie was not truly evil, she told Reese that after taking her DNA, she would come back later to save her. After collecting Reese's blood and finishing her work for the day, Sophie left the lab, already beginning the process of creating her medicine. By now, the people of the town had learned about the group being kept inside the summer camp. Many of them felt that no human should be locked up in camps like prisoners. Because of this, a large crowd gathered outside the camp and started protesting. To control the situation, Jude and Nestor had to arrest a few protesters. Since Jude had earlier helped the homeless security agency, he was now allowed to enter and leave the camp freely. Using this chance, Jude began quietly investigating Emma's disappearance. As he dug deeper, he slowly realized that Emma was most likely already dead. At the same time, public pressure against Robert was increasing. People wanted to know who the camp residents really were. To control the situation, Robert came up with a plan. He called Foster and ordered him to bring Paul, Mia's husband, to headquarters. Robert also told Foster to stop Jude from entering the camp again. Foster agreed and asked Jude to leave the camp. Jude left without arguing. Soon after, Foster brought Paul to headquarters. Mia personally went to talk to Paul in the interrogation room. She spoke to him lovingly and told him that they were on a very important mission to save the world. She asked Paul to record a video, promising that once everything was over, they would live happily together. Paul agreed. In the video following Mia's script, Paul said that they had lied about coming from the future. He claimed that they were actually part of a dangerous cult that threatened humanity, which is why they were being kept in the camp. Mia planned to release this video online if public anger got out of control, to manipulate people and calm them down. Meanwhile, Naomi was becoming restless inside the camp. She started encouraging others to escape. At that moment, Foster arrived to stop them. During the struggle, Naomi grabbed Foster's gun, shot and injured him, and escaped with the others. When Foster's teammates found out, they rushed him to the hospital. Earlier that morning, Jude and Nestor had arrested a woman named Diana during the protest. Diana told them that she had come to the past with the first group, but later left them because she wanted to save the new survivors too. Hearing this, Jude realized that everyone in the camp was in serious danger. Jude asked Diana to share everything she knew. She asked to see photos of Mia and Robert. After seeing them, she confirmed that they were the leaders behind everything. This shocked Jude deeply. He immediately understood that Emma must have been killed after discovering the truth about Robert and Mia. Just then, an FBI agent named Jennifer arrived at the police station and demanded that Jude release Diana and the others. Jude refused because Diana had already told him that Jennifer was also part of the first group and had come only to free Diana. Jude told Jennifer that if she wanted them released, she would need to bring a legal warrant. Since Jennifer couldn't provide one, she became angry and stormed out of the station. A little later, Jude got a call from Paul. By then, Paul had discovered Mia's real plan. He told Jude everything, and also warned him about the video that had been recorded. After hearing this, Jude understood that arresting Robert and Mia directly would be very dangerous. If they tried to do that, Robert and Mia could release the video and turn the public against Jude. Jude truly wanted to save everyone. At that moment, Diana shared an important idea. She said she could build a machine that, if connected to the camp's computer system, would erase all records of the new survivors from the systems controlled by the first group. After that, the survivors could be secretly taken out of the camp, given fake identities, and live freely without anyone being able to track them. Jude immediately told Diana to start building the machine. To keep her safe, he hid her in his garage where Marshall stayed to protect her. Meanwhile, Rachel, Caleb's daughter, was living with Robert. After coming to the past, Robert had adopted her. Rachel was currently happy and busy with her college project. Robert had adopted her out of kindness because Rachel had a mark on her neck, the same mark the Apex used on their slaves. This meant that in the future, Rachel and her parents had been enslaved by the Apex. It also suggested that Caleb had once worked for the Apex. In fact, the earlier attack at the camp, done using Apex methods, had actually been planned by Caleb. At the same time, Robert received confirmation that Sophie had successfully made the virus that could kill the new survivors. With this information, Robert made another plan. He went to the camp with Jennifer and spoke to all the survivors. He told them that in 3 or 4 days, they would be given town ID cards and released into the city. Before that, he said they would receive a vaccine to protect them from local diseases. Hearing this, the survivors were extremely happy. Meanwhile, Mia learned that Paul had told Jude everything. Furious, she mixed the virus made from Reese's DNA into a drink and gave it to Paul. Paul died after drinking it. Sophie also realized what Robert planned to do with the virus. Acting quickly, she rushed to Jude's house. In Jude's garage, Diana and Marshall were working on the machine, and Jude had just returned with important parts. When Jude heard a noise outside, he went out and met Sophie. She told him everything, Robert's plan and the deadly virus. After hearing this, Jude decided that rescuing Reese was the most important task. With Reese's strength, they could save everyone at the camp. Jude immediately went to Nestor, explained everything, and began planning Reese's rescue. Inside the lab, Reese was being tortured badly. Since the virus had already been created from her DNA, Robert ordered the scientist to kill her. The scientist used high-frequency sound to torture her, increasing the power until it became unbearable. Eventually, Reese's heartbeat slowed, and the scientist thought she was dead. He left the room, but the moment he left, Reese opened her eyes. Thinking only about saving Leah, she used all her strength to break free from the restraints. Guards rushed in, but Reese fought them easily and threw them aside. Just then, Sophie arrived with Jude, keeping her promise. Jude calmed Reese and started escaping with her. Suddenly, the scientist returned and held Sophie at gunpoint, demanding that Reese surrender in exchange for Sophie's life. With no choice, Jude and Reese lowered their weapons. Jude stepped in front of Reese and knelt down. At first, Reese didn't understand, but then she noticed Jude's hidden gun. She understood his signal, grabbed the gun, and shot the scientist in the head. Filled with rage, Reese lifted the scientist by the throat and demanded to know where Leah was. After getting the answer, Reese rushed to Sophie's lab and destroyed the tube containing the virus made from her DNA. But the danger wasn't over yet. Robert had already taken a sample of the virus to the camp, which meant that everyone there was still in serious danger. After escaping the lab, Sophie took the risky medicine she had made from Reese's DNA. Even though it had a 95% chance of killing her, she injected it anyway because she was already dying. At first, she felt better, but soon after, she collapsed unconscious when her colleague Mason arrived. Meanwhile, Diana finished the machine that could erase all records of the survivors from the camp's servers. Jude planned to rescue everyone and delete their digital traces, but they needed someone inside the camp to guide them. To help, Marshall went to the camp gate, punched Officer Roy, and got himself arrested on purpose. During the fight, he secretly slipped Roy a note. After reading it, Roy learned that Robert planned to kill the survivors and was responsible for Emma's death. Roy decided to help Jude and convince Caleb to stop the vaccinations. That night, Jennifer tortured Marshall and warned him to stay away from the camp. The next morning, Nestor stormed into the camp and claimed he had come only to take Marshall away. Robert believed him and released Marshall. During a fake scuffle, Roy passed Marshall another note. At the same time, Reese secretly entered the camp by hiding under Nestor's vehicle. She met Troy and Caleb, and together they quietly knocked out the guards. When Robert realized something was wrong, He ordered the survivors moved, but all the cabins were empty. Caleb had already hidden everyone at Naomi's camp. That night, Jude, Marshall, and Nestor returned to the camp. With Roy cutting the power, they broke through the electric fence, began rescuing the survivors, and Jude headed straight to the server room with Diana's device. By this time, Robert discovered that Roy had betrayed him. He called Roy into a room and began torturing him badly. Hearing Roy scream, Jude rushed in to save him, but Jennifer pointed a gun at Roy's head, forcing Jude to lower his weapon. Jude then decided to talk to Robert calmly. He reminded Robert that if he and his group had come all the way from the future to stop a terrible war, then he shouldn't become a killer himself by murdering innocent people who were only trying to survive, just like him. Robert understood this deep inside. However, Jennifer refused to stop. Angered by her behavior, Robert shot and killed Jennifer himself. After that, Robert took Diana's device to the server room and ordered all records of the survivors to be erased. By then, everyone had escaped safely from the camp and was filled with happiness. The next day, Jude was called to court. People thought he would be punished for letting Robert go instead of arresting him. But Jude explained everything clearly and convinced the judges, so he was not suspended. Later, Jude met the survivors and gave them their new identities. Reese said goodbye to Jude and left with Leah. Meanwhile, Caleb finally learned the truth about his daughter from Robert. He went to her university and Rachel was overjoyed to see her father after so many years. After receiving their new identities, the survivors spread out across the country, and from that moment on, no one could ever track them again. On the other hand, when Mia learned what Robert had done, she became furious and sent Duo to check on Sophie. Sophie was lying in a hospital in a coma after taking the Duo realized that Sophie was about to become an apex, so he went to kill her. But Sophie woke up before he could act. She killed Duo easily and walked out of the hospital with confidence. For now, peace returned, but Sophie could become dangerous in the future. She wasn't evil, but no one knew what she might do next. Still, we'll never find out, because this was the final episode of Season 1, and the creators never made a second season. So now, what did you think of this series? Tell me in the comments. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. For more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye.